All right, this is Algebra 1, Lesson 0-14. We're talking about the coordinate plane today, and hopefully this should be a review from last year or 2 years ago, depending on when you learn this. So quadrants. This is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. These are all Roman numerals. If you don't like Roman numerals, you can say that this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, but generally speaking, mathematicians usually use Roman numerals to label the quadrants. So you start in the top right, and then you go counterclockwise to get to quadrant 4. All right, so from there, I'm talking about x and y values, and I'm going to kind of skip down here and then come back up here. When I'm graphing a number, so I have two numbers because I have two axes to go on. I have an x and a y. X goes first, so let's put an x here, and a y goes here. First the x, then the y. All right, so, and this is just so we can get some XP in here. I have an x-axis and a y-axis. Which one is which? Raise your hand if you know, and you can tell us. X-axis and y-axis. Sergio. So horizontal is this way, and vertical is this way.
Horizontal is the x and the other one is the y.
Yeah, this is vertical. Vertical is the y, perfect. Y, and I'm going to actually label this y-axis and x-axis. Perfect. So when I look at positives and negatives for my coordinate pairs, instead of writing an actual number here, I'm just going to write a positive or a negative. So in the first quadrant, both the x and the y coordinate are positive. So this first plus represents the x, second plus represents the y. It's kind of like doing the coordinate pair. By the way, just vocab, this type of notation right here in green is called coordinate pair. Coordinate pair. And it represents the position of a point. So when I say graph a point or tell me where a point is, you will give me a coordinate pair. So that represents the position of a point. I think we all kind of intuitively understand that. I just want to make that explicit. So the coordinate pair in everything in this second quadrant is going to be what? Quiet raised hand. What am I going to do for my coordinate pair? And I need to go back and give Sergio your XP, otherwise I'm going to forget. Fernando. Negative and positive, yeah. So the x-coordinate is negative. The x-axis, this is always negative, so I can put a negative over here. And this x-axis over here is always positive over here. Perfect. And we know that the y-coordinate, both the y-coordinate for this top part was positive. So the y-axis, this is the positive part of the y-axis. Perfect. Fernando, XP. All right, new XP, someone new. What coordinate pair am I going to put down here in terms of positives and negatives? Someone aside from Sergio, aside from Fernando. Cohen, yeah, go for it. Negative and negative, yeah, very nice. Oh, it's not alphabetical. That's why I'm always getting confused. There we go, Cohen. And final one for XP, someone new. Andres, go for it.
Positive and negative.
Positive and negative, yeah, there you go. All right, so when I graph points, the procedure, and you hopefully knew the procedure from the warm-up, is as follows. Go left or right first, then up and down. Up or down, I should say. Essentially, you graph the y after you graph the x. So I'm going to first go left or right. So that's the x-coordinate, and I can kind of label that up here. Left or right, that's the x-coordinate for this part. And then up or down, that's the y-coordinate. So make sure you're always going left or right first. If you're going up or down first and you're going backwards, I mean, if it works for you, it works. But if you're starting to get questions wrong, then go back to this procedure. Go left or right first, then up or down to find the y. All right, almost done with the notes. Let's do another axis. Oh, sorry. Is there someone that's still writing? All right. And I'm going to move on. There's a video just in case we ever get lost. So let's do a new graph and try to make it so in your notes your graph goes through those points. The graph or the note paper that I have is dot paper, so make sure that your axis goes through those dots. It makes it so that you can actually make a really nice graph. In fact, I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to paste in my nice graph as if I had dot paper. Okay, so what I want to do is to make a function. My function is going to have a point here that goes through 0, 1, and it's going to also go through these points. Okay, so I want to make this blue. I'm going to make this a little bit better. Make this come up through here. There we go. I have that function. All right. So what I'm trying to get at here is naming points on a line. And if you feel like you already know how to do this, that's awesome. I mean, that is this entire unit, everything you should know. I'm just trying to refresh us from the summer. And after Unit 0 finishes, we'll hit Unit 1, which should be maybe new stuff for most of us. We'll see. So naming points on a line. I'm going to give you these 2 points, but I want you to give me 2 other points on this line. So here's 1 point. I can label this A. A has the coordinates 1, I came over 1 in the x-axis, so 1, comma, and I went up 1, 2, 3 in the y-axis, so 1, 3. I'm going to label this one, I could label it whatever I want. I could label it heart. It's not traditional, but you can do it. This heart has position. Well, I didn't go left or right. I'm trying to go left or right first, but I didn't go left or right, so I went 0 in the left and right, and I went 1 up, a 1 in the y direction. What I want you to do right now in your own notes is label 2 other points on this line. So I can give a few more examples here. It doesn't matter how you label them, like if you label them happy face, B, Z, whatever. But these are some other possibilities. So you know how to name points now. That concludes this lesson. It was a very quick review lesson. It's a Friday, it's a minimum day. Are there any questions before we end and go to the summary? No questions. All right, that concludes this video. Does anyone want to say goodbye to Monse? She can hear you in the video.